Parents who've read your teenager's diary, what did you discover that changed your relationship forever? I still remember the day I was vacuuming under my daughter Lily's bed and found her diary wedged between the mattress and the wall. It slipped open in my hands, and there it was, my name, underlined 3 times, followed by the words "I hate her," scrawled in bold, angry capital letters. I should have closed it right then, but I didn't. I'm not proud of that. Lily had been different for months, withdrawn, distant, spending hours behind a locked door. I told myself it was just normal 16-year-old behavior, but my husband kept insisting something was wrong. The first pages were harmless enough: boys at school, friend drama, rants about teachers. But then my stomach dropped as I found entries about cutting, how she hid it where no one could see, how the pain made the weight of everything else easier to bear. My hands shook so badly I could barely turn the pages. I read about her, wondering what it would feel like to disappear, whether anyone would really miss her, how she thought her dad might cry, but I would probably feel relief. She had even written a poem about vanishing, about being a ghost in her own home, screaming silently while no one noticed. I recognized fragments of lyrics from those sad songs she always played alone in her room, but seeing her pain written out in her own hand was like a knife to the chest. And then I found the reason. The year before, my sister had been diagnosed with cancer, and I had thrown myself completely into caring for her. Chemo appointments, her kids, meals, late-night phone calls. I thought I was balancing everything, but through Lily's eyes, I had simply vanished. Entry after entry was filled with how I'd missed her soccer games, how I was always too tired, how I never asked about her day anymore, how she felt replaced. The worst entry was about her birthday. I had promised her I'd be home for dinner, but when my sister had a bad reaction to treatment, I stayed at the hospital and didn't even remember to call. Lily wrote, "Mom has a new daughter now. She doesn't need me anymore." She described how she baked her own cake, waited at the table, kept checking her phone until midnight, then blew out the candles alone and went to bed. That was the moment my heart broke. I put the diary back exactly as I found it, went to my room and cried until my body shook. That night, I told my husband I needed to change. I didn't confess about the diary, only that I realized how badly I'd been neglecting Lily. His face softened, like he'd been waiting forever for me to see it. He just hugged me and whispered, "Thank you." The next day, I pulled Lily out of school for a surprise lunch. She eyed me suspiciously, and when I gently asked about the cuts on her arm, she tugged her sleeve down and muttered that it was the cat. I didn't press. Instead, I told her how much I missed her, how sorry I was, how she would always be my priority no matter what. She asked why I was saying all this now, what had changed. All I could tell her was that sometimes we don't see what's right in front of us until something wakes us up. She didn't say much, but when I dropped her back at school, she hugged me for the first time in months. From then on, I started keeping my promises. I showed up to her games. I cut down late-night calls with my sister until after Lily was asleep. I carved out weekly mother-daughter nights that nothing could interrupt. I even baked her old birthday cake recipe one evening, telling her I wanted a do-over. She looked at me strangely at first, but then she smiled. A real unguarded smile. Her dad noticed too. He told me one night he could hear her laughing again, and that she'd started leaving her door open, music spilling into the hallway instead of shutting herself away with headphones. 3 months later, I walked past her room and found her diary left open on her bed, almost as if she wanted me to see it. On the page was a simple line, "Mom's back." In another entry, she had crossed out her old dark poem and written a new one, about being seen, about someone fighting for you even after you'd given up on yourself. I never told her I read her diary, but sometimes I think she knows. She's 19 now, away at college. Just last week she called, not to ask for help, not for advice, but just to check on me. Before she hung up, she said quietly, "Thanks for fighting for me back then, Mom." I don't know if she'll ever realize that reading her diary that day didn't just save her life. It saved our relationship. And in a way, it saved me too. My sister sometimes asks how I knew something was wrong with Lily, and I always say, a mother just knows. But the truth is, I almost didn't.